Nick and Andy, massive Champions League final at Wembley on June 1st. Borussia Dortmund against Real Madrid. Nick, I know you're a Dortmund guy, but Real Madrid, heavy favourites.
Oh, yeah.
Dortmund are massive underdogs. What are your thoughts going into this game? Because I guess no one's really given Dortmund a chance, and I feel like that's quite foolish right now, given the run they've had to get to the final.
They do have, if you're going to say anything, there is a not a team of destiny, but there's a vibe about them. They defend really well, not in the Bundesliga, but they've done it in the Champions League. And they I don't know how it works. They just kind of have shown up in this tournament and looked like an entirely different team. And the occasion, having a whole city behind you. And I know Real Madrid has a massive worldwide following, but it's more special, right? That there's not that anyone's going to be caught off guard in a Champions League final, but I can talk myself into a scenario where Dortmund is prepared to pull a West Ham, but countering with players that well, oddly enough, Sebastian Haller, right, is a former West Ham guy, and he's part of the story too. Sancho coming home essentially after being miserable at Manchester United. Haller coming back from testicular cancer. Sula. There's so many guys on this team that are, I know they're kind of neat stories. And I feel like there's a vibe that can be tapped into. Unfortunately, it's a vibe that can be shot down in about 5 minutes if Vinny Jr.'s on his game.
Yeah, that's right, Andy, isn't it? Because Real Madrid, obviously, they rule this competition, won it 14 times, more than any other club in history. That young core, Nick mentioned there, Vinny, Rodrigo, Jude Bellingham's been added to the mix this season and been sensational. And they're set to dominate for seasons to come, right? I mean, you think Mbappe is about to turn up. And, you know, one of the other, Tchouaméni's out, we think, for the final, which may impact them slightly, but still an incredible young core Carlo Ancelotti has there. And it would seem they aren't fazed by this. A lot of this squad have already, even though they're young, they've already done this and have that feeling of destiny. Nick mentioned it for Dortmund. Throughout the tournament, it felt like, yeah, they just believed they were going to get there. But for Real Madrid, it's just destiny, right? The way that they got through Man City and then even against Bayern late on. There's just this inner belief and almost just strength of character that we play for Real Madrid and we are going to win this.
Well, and you want to know what's really terrifying about it. I'm looking at their stats for the season. Their top performers: 20-year-old Jude Bellingham, 23-year-old Vinicius, 23-year-old Rodrigo, 24-year-old Brahim Diaz, 19-year-old Arda Güler, 24-year-old Aurelien Tchouaméni. This is a very young team of incredible stars, not just of the now, but of the future for potentially another decade for each one of them. And they have such an understanding of how to play together and a willingness to play together as well. The thing that we've always associated with Real Madrid is star power, and sometimes that was combustible. It didn't fit together. There were egos. Players didn't want to sacrifice for the team or fit into a system. One, I think you've got to give Carlo Ancelotti, obviously, all of the credit in the world. You know, he continues to cement himself as one of the greatest managers of all time, just with longevity and the amount of success that he's having. But building up a young project like this that he could continue and just kind of casually manage Real Madrid for another 5 years and feel like he doesn't have to do a ton because the foundation has been laid. And so I look at this not just of the powerhouse Real Madrid, but almost a coming-of-age Real Madrid team. And then you throw in just the possibility that Mbappe joins up with them next summer. I know we'll talk about this in the summer. Could that be the worst thing for Real Madrid? Adding in a name and just a player with the gravity and the pull of an Mbappe, not to say anything of him specifically, but introducing any character into that team like that, you know, could potentially upset it. All of that to say, yeah, I lean towards Real Madrid in this final for all of the reasons I just outlined there. And it's almost become Wonder Kid FC. You know, players that we knew about at 16 years old and were earmarked for the very, very top of the sport. Maybe like Martin Odegaard is one that got away from Real Madrid, but clearly this has been a plan for a long time coming, and building towards this Champions League final with this group is really an incredible achievement, and I don't think that's being talked about quite enough.
I love the balance about this Real Madrid team in terms of they got the individual quality going forward, but, you know, look at guys like Dani Carvajal, Rudiger, Nacho coming in, even Fede Valverde obviously doesn't get talked about nearly enough in terms of his quality, but the work rate, the just, again, I talked about earlier, the belief and the determination that we are going to get this done. And they know if they work hard defensively, they're going to create chances to get their attacking players in the final third in the right places. And usually they're going to finish and win them the game. So, Nick, for Real Madrid, again, we talked about it, so many superstars stepping up, but who could be the difference for Dortmund in this final? Because fifth in the Bundesliga, obviously, over the course of a season, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of changes in the squad. But Füllkrug was excellent in this Champions League run. Obviously, Jadon Sancho, you mentioned, has been brilliant since he come back on loan from Manchester United. And then you have Mats Hummels and Marco Reus, the story there, then maybe ending on the ultimate high. Their Dortmund careers would be something to see. But there's so many great attacking players, and individually they can do their thing. But like Real Madrid, collectively as a unit, Dortmund, it all just kind of clicked into place. And especially against PSG, they looked the part, didn't they?
They did. And they have so many players who unspectacular, or spectacular in their unspectacularness, or something like that. You know, Nico Schlotterbeck and Emre Can has put it together. I mean, we saw flashes of it at Liverpool, but sometimes a guy just needs to be in that right spot. I think you mentioned Julian Brandt. I know you're high on him. A really exceptional player. The reason that a guy like, you know, what is it meant to learn under a Marco Reus, right? And again, you're right. These are both vibes teams. And and perhaps Carlo Ancelotti is the ultimate vibes manager. But when it comes down to it, I know that this Dortmund team will show up with a fearless mentality. It's kind of like we talked about the Saints game. Can they manage those first 15 minutes? Going up against Toni Kroos, and Rudiger has been phenomenal, and every player on that Real Madrid team carries an aura. Can you manage that? Can you weather that? That plays a big part into, because I think over 90 minutes, if you started the timer and everybody's in the flow of the game, I like Dortmund to play this game evenly. Real Madrid has been there. So that's kind of where I'm living.
Yeah, I mean, Andy, in terms of key battles, Nick mentioned it there. Toni Kroos potentially looks like he's going to come in. Obviously, just announced he's going to retire this summer. In midfield, do you think Real Madrid, is that maybe a bit of a weakness there in front of their back four? Can they shield some of the, you know, Füllkrug can hold it up and get the Adeyemi, Brandt, Sancho, others into the game? Do you think that's one area where Dortmund can have a bit of success? And again, Toni Kroos and Luka Modric, fantastic, legendary players, but clearly they're towards the end of their career. His is going to end this summer. Modric's maybe soon. But I just wonder, with Tchouaméni being out, that defensive stability in that area may be an area that Dortmund will target to get the ball up to Füllkrug quickly and build off it to give themselves some chances, but ease some of the pressure they'll be feeling as well.
Does anybody remember Real Madrid Man City first leg and how wide open and end to end that one was? It was just counter-attacking chance after counter-attacking chance. And I wonder at what point Ancelotti says, I know I have the better guys up front. I'm happy to play an open counter-attacking game because I think we're going to score 2 or 3 before you score. And at that point, we can then get a little bit more conservative and try to break up play a little bit more. It's not a pretty playing Real Madrid team, but when they are in the open field, it's incredible to watch the quickness that they play with. And I think Dortmund, that probably is their best, you know, their best path to victory in this game is, you know, they happen to score one of the early chances in the game, and then they can make it as ugly as possible. You know, it's stylistically, it's going to look very different on the field. I lean towards Real Madrid for the simple fact of the quality at the top of the team, and especially going forward. It might be limited chances at times in this one because finals are always cagey, and again, I back those Real Madrid stars to find a goal.
Nick, score prediction, what are you going for?
Can I just admit it's not a prediction and that I'm hoping? Yeah, I'm just hoping. I'm hoping for Dortmund to win 2-1 because my feeling is that it's probably not going to be much of a contest. I just think the experience factor in situations like these is huge, and it's very. I had a colleague here in Buffalo when I used to work at the radio station, and we talk about hockey. And, the first time the Sabres made a playoffs in a while, he would say, the playoffs are a process. You've got to learn how to compete in a 7-game series. You got to learn how to get there. And we've seen that even over the years with Liverpool, right? So there's just so much of me telling me that the occasion is going to be hard to manage for one team over the other. So, I hope for great goalkeeping and some great stops and that keep them in the game, because once they find their flow, Dortmund will look good. But I'm just so nervous about the start of this game. So I think Real Madrid will win, but I'm saying Dortmund 2-1.
There you go. From Buffalo's sister city with love, right?
Yep.
Dortmund. So Nick Mendola, always rooting for Dortmund. I love to see it. Andy, score prediction?
Yeah, for Dortmund, this is an occasion. For Real Madrid, this is just the last game of the season. This is, to Nick's point, the expectation at Real Madrid and what it's supposed to be. And so, yeah, I'll go 3-1 to Madrid. I think it's close for 60 or 70 minutes. Maybe it's 1-0 or even 1-1. But I think late in the game, as it gets more and more stretched, then, we're going to see that quality just kind of show through for Madrid.
I think it's going to be similar to that Man City Real Madrid game in the knockout stages, where it's back and forward, a lot of chances. But Madrid just come out on top with individual quality. I'm going to go for Real Madrid 3, Borussia Dortmund 2, and to be a bit of an all-time classic final at Wembley. It's going to be quite the occasion. Really looking forward to seeing this, because so many great storylines. I think neutrals everywhere are hoping that Dortmund pull this off, but you cannot not appreciate the rebuilding job Real Madrid have done with this young core, and to see them dazzle on this stage and do it themselves would be quite something as well. So head over to Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com. Borussia Dortmund against Real Madrid, Champions League final. We'll have you covered. Nick and Andy, it's been a pleasure previewing this game. Pleasure all season long. Thanks, lads. Thanks to everyone for watching, and we'll speak to you all very soon. Cheers.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And for even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock. And be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you there.